Welcome to a journey into one of humanity's most urgent yet overlooked crises. While environmental conservation dominates headlines, another extinction is happening silently around us. According to UNESCO, 40% of the world's 7,000 languages are at risk of disappearing, with one language dying every 2 weeks. But in an unexpected twist, the very technologies that once threatened cultural diversity are now being repurposed by indigenous communities to preserve their endangered languages. Today, we'll explore how artificial intelligence is becoming an unlikely ally in the race against linguistic extinction, and why saving these languages matters for all of humanity. The numbers are staggering. 40% of the world's 7,000 languages are at risk of disappearing. One language dies every 2 weeks on average. Indigenous languages are particularly vulnerable, with many having fewer than 1,000 speakers remaining. But these aren't just communication systems being lost. They're entire knowledge frameworks about local ecosystems, medicinal plants, and cultural practices developed over thousands of years. When a language disappears, humanity loses not just words and grammar, but unique perspectives on human experience and specialized knowledge about the natural world that may have accumulated over millennia. This loss is accelerating due to globalization, forced assimilation policies, and economic pressures that push communities toward dominant languages. In a surprising development, some indigenous communities have begun repurposing large language models like Chatgpt to document and preserve their endangered languages in ways that traditional linguistic fieldwork could never achieve at scale. This technological intervention arrives at a critical moment in history. What makes this approach revolutionary is that it inverts the typical power dynamic between indigenous communities and technology companies. Instead of being passive subjects of technological change, tribal nations are increasingly setting the terms of engagement, determining how AI will interact with their cultural heritage. This shift represents a form of digital self-determination for communities that have historically been marginalized in technological development. The Mixtec people of southern Mexico provide a compelling case study of this approach. Their language family includes over 50 variants, some with only dozens of speakers remaining. In late 2022, community technologists began experimenting with Chatgpt, discovering that feeding the AI system with existing dictionaries, recorded conversations, and written materials could create a dynamic language documentation tool. This approach extends beyond static word lists to create interactive learning experiences. The Mixtec Digital Language Collective has documented over 12,000 phrases and cultural contexts in Tuan Savi, the Mixtec language, that might otherwise be lost as elders pass away. AI helps identify patterns in the language that even human linguists have missed, particularly in tonal variations that carry significant meaning. Young Mixtec speakers can now practice conversations with AI systems that respond in culturally appropriate ways, maintaining nuances that might be lost in traditional language instruction. What's being preserved goes far beyond simple vocabulary. The technology enables the documentation of context-specific terminology related to traditional practices that might not appear in standard language documentation. For example, the Mixtec have documented over 200 terms related to traditional milpa agriculture that capture subtle distinctions in plant growth stages and ecological relationships not expressed in Spanish or English. These knowledge systems, embedded in language, represent sophisticated understandings of local ecosystems developed over centuries of observation. Unlike traditional preservation methods that might produce static dictionaries or academic papers, these AI-assisted tools create living repositories that community members can actively engage with and contribute to. This technological approach isn't without controversy. Many indigenous communities have valid concerns about data sovereignty and the potential exploitation of their cultural knowledge. The history of extractive research practices has left deep wounds in many communities. To address these concerns, several indigenous-led technology cooperatives have emerged. The Indigenous AI Collective, formed in 2023, includes representatives from 28 language communities across 6 continents. They've established protocols for sharing language data with AI systems, including requirements that all data remains tribally owned and controlled. The Inuit Circumpolar Council recently negotiated an agreement with OpenAI to create a specialized version of Chatgpt that helps preserve inactitude while ensuring the community maintains ownership of all linguistic data. This model includes restrictions preventing the extraction or commercialization of traditional knowledge about Arctic environments and medicine. These developments reflect a growing awareness of the need for ethical frameworks governing AI's interaction with indigenous knowledge. Many communities are creating their own data governance structures based on traditional values and protocols. The Anishinaabe Digital Treaty, for instance, applies conventional reciprocity concepts and respect to data sharing arrangements, requiring that any AI trained on their language provide tangible benefits back to the community. The ethical questions extend beyond data ownership to cultural authenticity and appropriate use. Some elders express concern that AI-generated language might lack the spiritual or cultural context essential to proper understanding. Others worry about sacred or ceremonial language being included in public-facing models. These concerns have led to the development of tiered access systems where specific knowledge remains restricted according to traditional protocols, while everyday language is more broadly shared. As these preservation efforts accelerate, indigenous technologists face a race against what some call digital colonialism, the risk that commercial AI systems will scrape and appropriate indigenous languages without permission or proper context. In response, the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues held its first-ever session on AI and indigenous knowledge in April 2023. The resulting framework calls for indigenous data sovereignty as a fundamental right and proposes technical standards for how AI systems should handle indigenous languages. This represents a proactive approach to ensuring that technological development respects indigenous rights and knowledge systems. The urgency is real. Without these protections, the same forces that threaten languages in the physical world could reproduce similar harms in digital spaces. Meanwhile, grassroots initiatives continue to grow and show promising results. The Maori Language Commission in New Zealand has partnered with local tech companies to create language models specifically designed for Te Reo Maori revitalization. Over 25,000 learners are now using AI-assisted tools to reconnect with their heritage language. In the Navajo Nation, an AI-assisted language app has helped increase the number of young speakers by 30% over 3 years, reversing decades of decline. These success stories demonstrate that thoughtfully applied technology can strengthen cultural diversity rather than diminish it. They challenge the standard narrative that technological advancement inevitably leads to cultural homogenization. Instead, these initiatives suggest that technology, when shaped by the communities it serves, can become a powerful tool for cultural revitalization. The intersection of indigenous languages and artificial intelligence represents a fascinating convergence of ancient wisdom and cutting-edge technology. These projects demonstrate how traditional knowledge systems can benefit from and inform technological development. Many indigenous languages contain sophisticated conceptual frameworks that offer alternative ways of understanding relationships between humans, technology, and the natural world. For instance, the Hawaiian language revitalization movement has developed AI tools that incorporate traditional Hawaiian epistemological frameworks. These systems organize knowledge not through Western categorical hierarchies, but through relational networks that emphasize connections between concepts, an approach that some computer scientists now recognize has parallels with neural network architecture. This suggests that indigenous knowledge systems may have valuable insights to offer to the field of artificial intelligence itself. As one Hopi language teacher remarked at a recent digital sovereignty conference, our ancestors couldn't have imagined that silicon and electricity would help carry our words to future generations, but they would understand the importance of adaptation. We've always used the tools available to ensure our knowledge continues. This sentiment captures the pragmatic approach many indigenous communities are taking, recognizing both the potential and limitations of AI while maintaining their agency in determining how their languages evolve in the digital age. In doing so, they're not just preserving linguistic artifacts, but ensuring living traditions can continue to develop and thrive in contemporary contexts. This approach recognizes that languages are not static entities but dynamic systems that have always evolved in response to changing circumstances. The goal is not to freeze languages in time, but to ensure they continue to serve their communities as living vehicles of cultural knowledge and identity. As we've explored throughout this journey, the extinction of languages represents an irreplaceable loss of human knowledge, perspective, and cultural heritage. Each language that disappears takes with it unique ways of understanding our world and specialized knowledge developed over millennia. Yet, in this critical moment, we're witnessing something remarkable. Indigenous communities are not passive victims of linguistic extinction, but active innovators adapting cutting-edge technology to serve their cultural needs. By reclaiming control over how their languages are documented, preserved, and taught, these communities are challenging conventional power dynamics and demonstrating that technological advancement need not come at the expense of cultural diversity. The marriage of ancient wisdom with artificial intelligence offers hope that future generations will continue to speak languages that were nearly lost. It also reminds us that true technological progress should amplify human diversity rather than diminish it. As we face global challenges that require diverse perspectives and knowledge systems, the preservation of indigenous languages isn't just important for the communities who speak them, it's essential for all of humanity. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for updates. Your feedback is appreciated. We hope to see you again.